what was I kind of wondering is the tangible difference between what you imagine this life to be and everything you want it to be in your life and the future. The difference between that in your imagination, where you currently are, is literally zero. You can only possibly imagine that with the fact that you are standing exactly where you are. Obviously, not you don't have to be standing, but your physical being, your process, your mental state in this considerable time constraint, which you are, is only plausible, only existable in your head if you currently exist in this state as you are hearing this, as you are thinking about it. So, in the same state that you exist, as you think about it and believe and dream of all that could be with you and yourself in the future, can only exist if you, in your present state, also currently exists as it does what it is doing. Seems obvious, not so much that thought about. That means, in your head, there is a real creation. Obviously, it's only in your head, so the essence of reality is, again, only by your perception. Very hard to objectively do something that is quite very subjective to an individual. Obviously, life, to a degree, has a very objective element, which we can, by our objective measures, understand. Subjectively, we do not understand things beyond our comprehension. Therefore, if there is an afterlife or a post-existence of what we believe to be one's finality of this human life in this physical form, whatever that may be, where we believe it ceases to cease to exist to that extent, we are incapable of understanding outside of that, as we are not in that state, and therefore, as much like you can only believe what your future or the you that you think you are exists, can only exist as a result of the fact that you are able to think of it as the current you that you do currently exist as. A lot of it's obviously hypothetical, a lot of it's obviously trying to believe and think much into the future. But therefore, as a point of realism, is a true line between what you can imagine and believe in your own head to be a realism, to be real and to be truthful, and where you currently stand and exist. So it's one of those very principles. It's not necessarily the law of attraction, but the law of believing that, believe and achieve what you can realistically accomplish. Make it a SMART goal, as the common terminology would have it. If you have something like that, you can generally foresee a path there that can only exist if the fact that you now currently exist can see that path, and therefore you have understood the principle that person A, as you are now, can reach person B, the one that you want it to be, via an actual path, because believed its actual existence. Again, it has to be laid out in some kind of objective measure by the ones that we have to abide by as physical human beings, both subjective to law, objective to physical, and like the law of physics, etc. Laws of physics. And so it's an understanding that if you can, to your greatest extent, as your understanding of your physical being, again, I don't know if you can bend time and matter and shape, and most people can't. I'm one of those people who can't, but if you're a person who can, or an alien or a fictitious character who has somehow gained self-awareness and can write your own stories, whatever, any kind of understanding that whatever is in your physical comprehension and grasp and capability is your ability to use that as a pathway to get to where you need to be. So basically quite simple is that the believe and achieve principle, if it's tied in with actual legitimate factual ways of things happening that are plausible and possible, then if there is a will, there is a way. It's undeniable logical proof that it's possible. And if it is possible, and therefore if there is a will and there is a way, and it is achievable, it can be done. So nothing is really that inachievable if you can actually apply those principles. You can apply that formula to how you work things out in your life, where you want things to be. you can get there. And you've scaffolded the way, you've created a problem, and much like in mathematics, in any ways you look at a problem and you can understand the principles behind it, and you understand which method to apply, and when to apply it, how to apply it, and how to work out those problems. You create a correct answer. If you have the correct answer, that's the guideline. That's the path. Like you do that, and then you follow the equation. You get the answer. You're done. That's what you believe to achieve, what you wanted to achieve, you've achieved. So it seems like, again, you could do a lot of work in mathematics and trying to scope down what that actually is. I'd probably write it down in an equation, which I should do actually. I should re-listen to this and record and write it down, what the actual equation that I spoke of. But of course, an audible understanding of words and relating to people is quite easy for a lot of people, whereas having to put things down as mathematical equations, which can be very easy on the eyes, some people can comprehend that in a lot of an easier way. Some people need the words, but of course, having it down written on paper where it's succinct, that's what mathematical writing and language is it's quite succinct ways of putting large problems into easy to read and write equations, which is the beauty of it. Yeah, I mean, I love this is one of the best parts of how that's what the beauty of math is of course, apart from it being a universal language and appropriate everywhere, is the fact that, I shouldn't say appropriate everywhere because they're not non-specifically math appropriate dimension or convention. Math can be applied to, of course, multiple angles of that, but if it's specifically a convention for the no mathematics, then of course mathematics shouldn't be applied, although it could be. I don't really know how that works. Again, because it's just our human conjecture, our human understanding of what mathematics is, and how it relates to the universe. Again, I'm not disputing the fact that things are real and mathematics exists, and things can be explained, and there's physical nature and there's physical property. I'm just also entertaining the fact that this could all be a simulation. Who knows? This could make all the mathematical principles, as far as whoever's written this code for us to understand, make sense, because of course it makes sense to us, because we've been developed to understand that's how the code works. Again, not a huge believer in conspiracies. I don't think that's the case, but if it were the case, you could understand that we are not only in this one resolute understanding. We might be this very small. We might be a sim inside of a computer for something else. Giant conspiracy theory that I'm not entertaining, that I've already just spoken a couple minutes on, that I'm probably got not a huge tangent on, but more so the fact that it's to do with the relevance of this isn't that, because there's something else. Could be, but we don't know. So we just apply as though what we do think it is what it is. Simple enough. That's how humans live their everyday life. That's a very complicated way of explaining a very simple concept that obviously, there's the old saying, monkey see, monkey do, which has more of it to do with a belief that that's how things copy. I don't believe that's the best use of that saying, because monkeys aren't necessarily the best imitating sort of learning creature. They can think for themselves and develop learning ways by trial and error, not necessarily by imitation. So it's not necessarily the monkey see, monkey do effect, but more of if we were to see ourselves as a blank sort of canvas monkey, then monkey, we see something, we do something. Like that's how things work. We see something ahead of us to do, we do something about it. We whether we see an injustice, we as a human or a compassionate monkey sees that and goes, we should do something about it. Or we see a pile of garbage or some laundry that needs to be hung, and we go, oh, we need to put that away, or we need to hang that up, or whatever it may be, you dispose of it correctly. You think about the steps to do that. You basically, you see task, you do task. So whichever way you want to interpret that, whether it is the fact that you see something and learn by doing and imitating it, because that's simply what others do, very applicable to a lot of life, or whether it's because you see tasks and necessary things to be done ahead of you and you do that. Either or is way valid interpretation. More so the fact, again, you understand that the individual you are, the things that you do, all relate back to where it is you're going. I've completely forgotten the first point I started on, so maybe I should tie this up now. But essentially, smart point. I'm sure was. Otherwise, I wouldn't be rambling for about 10 minutes, but good stuff, boy.